Okay, I'm recording this once again because I was just recording this, right? And I was having a Godzilla movie play in the background. A movie that I had purchased on YouTube through YouTube Premium and stuff. I purchased a Godzilla movie so I could watch it anytime. And it was just a black screen. So I went like 15 minutes into it, and I'm going to try and not do that this time. I'm going to try and be a little bit more concise with everything. But let's just get into it. You guys are going to watch one of my other YouTube videos just without the audio and stuff. Uh, but anyway, I just got back from watching the Godzilla X Kong New Empire movie. And before I get into anything, as a movie, I will give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And then as a Kong fan, I would give it a 7 or an 8 out of 10. As a Godzilla fan, I give it um a point 0.5 out of 10. Okay? Because honestly, the movie should not have been Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire. It should have been Kong: A New Empire. And then you have this big surprise moment, big thing for the people wanting Godzilla in the film. Godzilla shows up at the end of the movie. Okay? It's like the movie honestly feels when watching it that um the film was made and it was all written for Kong, Kong, Kong. Okay. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem just Kong, Kong, Kong the whole time. Okay. But then they were like, oh shit, we put Godzilla in the title too. We need to put Godzilla in a few different spots throughout the movie. And Godzilla shows up randomly. Like Godzilla shows up every like 20 minutes randomly. And it's just like, oh hey, yeah, like Godzilla is still a thing, right? And like honestly, I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And when Godzilla shows up, he's only on screen for like 30 seconds. Gotta drink my beverage. But he shows up for 30 seconds at a time, right? And as a Godzilla fan, like I have every movie. Okay. I'm making a collection of every movie in what I call mint condition, still wrapped in plastic and all that, right? Okay, I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. I've been watching it my entire life. It's so disrespectful to Godzilla fans. We're being treated the same way that Japan treated little kids in over in Japan with the Godzilla movies in the 90s, because those were definitely more made for adults, and these movies are made for all age audiences. Okay, it's like a PG-13 movie, but like they had more adult themes in them in the 90s, and then Godzilla would be on screen. He would just be there, in the ocean, whatever. And then that'd be it. And that was just to keep the kids like entertained. And that's how I felt I was being treated as a Godzilla fan watching this movie. Okay. And it's such disrespect to us, and I'm insulted. I take it personally, right? And it's definitely, I would give it number 3. It's the third best movie in the MonsterVerse. It's either third or fourth as far as the ranking. Godzilla King of the Monsters still reigns as the top movie in the Godzilla MonsterVerse. Godzilla versus Kong would be number 2, and then it's either Godzilla X Kong or Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla 2014 as number 5. Okay. Anyway, just to get into the movie a little bit as spoilers, okay? I want to talk to you guys about a few of my favorite parts and a few of my least favorite parts. Okay? Some of my favorite parts of the movie. There's a point in the movie where you first meet, we're going to call him Baby Kong, okay? Because I know that's what people are calling him online. The baby orangutan monkey, right? The only baby monkey in the entire movie. Baby monkey, Baby Kong, right? Shows up to Kong. Kong like reaches out his hand, and at this point in the movie, they're just like, "Oh, Kong's like supposed to be a social creature and all that. He needs like a family and some friends and stuff." Ignore the mic arm. Uh, and so he meets him, and he's putting out his hand, and then little Kong bites his finger, and Kong like is like, "Oh, you little fucking shit," right? And then Kong gets jumped by like three other monkeys, okay? And he's like, fight him off and stuff. And then the little monkey, little Kong, jumps on the back of Kong's head and starts like clawing at him, right? So Kong grabs him by like the foot or the arm and uses baby Kong to beat the shit out of the other three monkeys and then just throws baby Kong away like a little fucking used napkin. All right, great moment in the movie. Sticking with Kong, there's a point in the movie where we've seen in the trailer Kong shows up to like the other monkeys in the area with like the lava pit, whatever. Okay. There's definitely a hierarchy in the monkeys as far as some are enforcers versus some are workers or slaves even. It definitely seems like you either work for Scar King or you're working for Scar King, okay? Um but one of the slave monkeys drops a this rock, okay? And it's never explained why they're like doing all this stuff. Drops this rock and the enforcer monkey is on his face like yelling at him and stuff. And then Kong like comes down and helps out the slave monkey that's on the floor, right? And Enforce Monkey gets in his face and just yapping away at him. No words and all that, right? And Kong just straight up just punches him. One shot knocks him out on his ass. Okay. That's some great moments of the movie. Okay. Great moments of the movie. That's two of my favorite parts of the movie, right? Oh, this might be the end of the video. No, it's only halfway. Most of the way through. But some of my least favorite parts of the movie was the lack of Godzilla. Okay. That is definitely something in there. Um, but also the final fight. Okay, now I'm gonna get into complaining about the movie. Like the negative parts is just a lot of the movie. Okay, so the first half of the movie, um, is a lot of build up, getting to Hollow Earth and such. And it's a lot of human plot points and exposition. Um, how do I put this? Um, a lot of not anything really happening. Okay. And then in the second half, like the beginning of the second half of the movie is when Kong kind of meets like the other monkeys and stuff, right? And then Kong has his little fight with Scar King. Shimu, the big white female Titan, she gets introduced. Okay, and she has like this ice power thing. Okay. Um, but and Kong ends up getting frostbite from one of her attacks. Okay, and there's a good chunk of like 25 minutes of of Kong. The focus is like, oh my god, Kong is like hurt. Okay, and then magically they have this like they have that gauntlet thing, right? Just there in Hollow Earth, and it of course has this sedative, this painkiller in it. So Kong can like go back to the fight. And I'm like, are we fucking serious right now? But a big thing that really took away from the final fight of the movie, I'll get into that real quick. So when Kong and Scar King fight each other, it's an even fight. So Kong and Scar King are evenly matched. We don't get a chance to see the two of them really get into it. Okay. And then we get so there's no like so Scar King is no longer a threat, if that makes sense. It's now okay, can Godzilla take care of Shimu? Because we know Kong is gonna fight Scar King, but we know that the two of them are on an even plane. Okay. Is Godzilla on the same plane as Shimu? And the way that they're building it up is that Shimu is gonna be a superior monster to Kong, right? Now that worked in Godzilla King of the Monsters, right? The one that came out in 2019. Okay, and that also worked in Godzilla versus Kong, for Kong trying to stop Godzilla. Okay, because Godzilla won the first engagement when they were fighting out in the water. Okay, so it was like, okay, Kong is definitely the underdog in this fight. Okay, in Godzilla King of the Monsters, when Godzilla fought Ghidorah, right, you had a you had a kind of land battle where King Ghidorah won, and then you had a sea battle where Godzilla won. And so in King of the Monsters, you had this like, hey, we don't know who's gonna like win here and all that. Where in Godzilla X Kong, I didn't point this out, Scar King gets knocked back from Kong, and two of his enforcers come rushing forward, and he stops them. Right, so it gives you the sense that uh Kong was superior to the Scar King. Like the Scar King needed help to stop Kong. Okay. And then he unleashed Shimu, right? And it was just like, okay, deal with this now. So honestly, like it didn't feel like Scar King going into the movie was like, okay, how is this guy gonna be like this big imposing threat? I was like, is he gonna be bigger than Kong? Is he gonna be stronger than Kong? Probably gonna be faster than Kong, be able to do more things. With the whip, it's gonna make him more versatile. He's gonna be a ranged fighter. Kong and Godzilla are definitely get close kind of fighters. No, like Scar King is not a threat. Like after that first engagement. Like I'm not worried about Scar King. And then you have like Shimu, and they also ruined Shimu right off the bat because when you get introduced to Shimu or Shimu, whatever her fucking name is, when you get introduced to the fucking big white one, you see Scar King use the dagger at the end of his spine like whip thing. He flicked it like a little fucking wand, and it induces pain into Shimu. And I'm like, so he's controlling her through pain and stuff, and that gets literally told to you in the movie. Controls her through pain. Okay, later on. And I'm just like, okay, so like I now know once that goes away, the fight is over. It would like it's like, oh my god, this Titan is being controlled by, the Scar King took away the threat of that because then it became, oh, you don't have to beat Shimu, you have to destroy the knife at the end of Scar King's fucking his whip. And I was like, that takes a whole element away from like the fight and stuff. And I'm just like it definitely going into the final fight, there wasn't a sense of like it's about to go down kind of thing. Like, hey, we're gonna have a showdown right here. Like, watch it like Godzilla 2014, when Godzilla goes to fight the Mutos, right? We've only gotten little teasers of it. We've gotten a teaser. Like it's building up to this moment for the movie. Okay. And then like they kind of give it to us, right? And then when it comes time to like the fight, they actually give some respect to like the fight and all that. They let them kind of hash it out. We do get to see Godzilla use his tail whip. Okay. And that was a really epic moment. Like that was like, oh, like yes. Okay, and then we got to see the breath and all that, which was definitely lackluster in that movie. Okay, and then you have like in the Kong movie. Okay, it's like, hey, here's the threat of like the big one, the big like skull crusher or skull crawler thing, whatever. It's like, okay, and then the big one comes out. That's the one that killed Kong's parents. And it's like, okay, we have a personal vendetta against this monster now. Okay, it's not just like, oh, hey, that's the big one like that. We know that's our big enemy. We have a reason. Okay, we're on the side of Kong. Like you gave us a reason to dislike this person. Okay, king of the monsters, right? You have a battle of two alpha titans that, you know, we've unleashed like everything. Who's going to be in control? Who's going to like decide the fate of the world? It's going to be the fate of the world is hanging on this balance. And Godzilla versus Kong is like, hey, you now have these two legendary monsters fighting off. Who's going to be victorious? Who's going to be the winner here? And then it's like, oh, hey, here's a bigger threat. Oh, look, it's Mecha Godzilla. And it's like, oh, shit, okay. And then Mecha Godzilla was this overpowering monster that was beating both Godzilla and Kong, right? And Godzilla X Kong. I did not feel worried about Scar King. And then once I knew that Shimu was just a slave, a captive of Scar King, I was like, okay, that is no longer the threat. Like, you don't have to beat the monster. You have to beat Scar King and then take that shit away, right? And then this really upset me in the final moments of the movie, okay? Getting to the final fight. Kong goes up to the surface world to get Godzilla's help. Godzilla's like, ain't no fucking way. I've been prepping for a big ass fight. You're the first part, okay? Goes after him, right? Godzilla ain't listening. And then so the human plot of the story, let me stop real quick. The human plot of the story, right, is Gia, the deaf daughter of Dr. Andrews, right? The little girl that Kong was attached to in Godzilla versus Kong. Um she she can sense what's happening. Like she can feel the emu peoples in Hollow Earth distress call to get Godzilla to come like save them. And for some reason she can just bring Mothra back to life. It's literally the exact same way of like how they explained Palpatine returned in like The Last Jedi. Somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow, because the prophecy says so, she can do this. And I'm like, these prophecy things, they work better when there's like multiple movies to like lead into that and all that good jazz. But she brings Mothra back to life, and then Mothra gets Godzilla to like reason, like with Kong, right? And then they go fight in the Hollow Earth. And it's Scar King riding on Shimu with like 8 of his like enforcer buddies versus Godzilla and Kong, right? And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm like, all right. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, so this is not a threat. Like Godzilla is going to turn the. And plus, here's the thing: favorite part of the movie. Favorite part of the movie was the tribute that they actually gave to it. Oh my god! They talked about how Scar King wanted to invade the world, like the surface world, and the one Godzilla, which they called the Beast, right, killed all of them and then trapped them in that prison. I'm like, yes, give some respect to my boy, the little fucking bitch. Oh my god. But anyway, so Kong's like taking like fighting Scar King. But there's this point where there's like this anti-gravity like moment of the movie, and everything's like moving around and such, and I'm like, I can't like keep up with what's happening at this moment, right? Like I honestly I can't keep track of nothing. Okay. And like I'm looking and like I'm turning my head and stuff, and it was way too confusing. And it was too much of like a hey, look at all this stuff. Look at how cool this is. Doesn't this look amazing right here? And I'm like, no, it doesn't look amazing because I can't fucking tell what's happening. All right. So that lasts like 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. And then like Scar King goes up to the surface world through the portal, right? And then Godzilla and Kong like go after him, and he takes Shimu with him, right? And he's up there and he's like, oh yes. And Shimu starts this little ice age like kind of thing. and then Kong and Godzilla show up, and the main event finally happens. Okay, and Kong's fighting Scar King. It's kind of even. Godzilla's fighting Shimu. It's kind of even, I guess. I guess, right? And then they kind of flip opponents for a minute. And Godzilla easily, easily slaps the shit out of Scar King. Okay. Ends up breaking the whip, right? And then the dagger is just laying on the ground. And Kong's like, thank God his glove for some reason is anti like frostbite proof. Okay. Because he's just taking this ray, this ray, this ray, this ray, this ray. Like Shimu's just spraying on him, right? And I'm like, bro. And he sees the knife and he's trying to like get it and stuff. Okay. And then him and Scar King are both reaching for it, and because Godzilla's now fighting Shimu, Godzilla sees like what's happening. Like Scar King gets knocked away, Kong's pinned down by Shimu. Godzilla sees what's happening, and he goes running. Ooh, we're not watching another YouTuber's shit with all this. Hold on. We're gonna look at my stuff. We'll go to a baseball game. But like, so Godzilla like sees this and he attacks Shimu so Kong can go destroy like the dagger thing, okay? Because Kong has to be the hero of this story, okay? Now, now Scar King like stops Kong from getting to it and they're kind of like fighting trying to like grab this, right? The little baby Kong shows up with Kong's ass cuz it got stuck in the wall, right? And destroys the dagger. And then Kong gets up and somehow he gets Scar King and like this chokehold and he's holding him up like he's Darth Vader. And Shimu's and Godzilla's like ready to fucking go against Shimu. And Shimu is just like looking back and forth like, oh, like what? Who do I fight? Who do I fight? And then she decides to like turn against like Scar King and like freezes him and shit, but like not fully, And so like Kong just takes him like over his head and just throws him on the ground and like smashes him and stuff. And you don't see like Scar King get smashed up. And the whole fight is like it took me longer to describe that fight than the fight that actually happened. Like you could probably play all of the fight scenes that happen within this film at least twice within the amount of recording that I've done so far for this movie. And it's so frustrating. It's such an insult to Godzilla fans. And I won't get in any more there. Okay. It wasn't a good. It's an okay film. It is a pretty good Kong film, and it is a very bad Godzilla film. Final take is that the movie should have been called Kong: A New Empire because that's honestly what it was. And Godzilla should have shown up and been like, "Oh my god, it's Godzilla!" Like it would have been a huge, like, big fucking deal. But it is what it is, and I digress. You guys have a good one.